Today, it's a very great pleasure to welcome our new Chief Scout to Altrincham Football Club, Tom Baker. Tom is a face and a name that will be familiar to some Altrincham fans. But first of all, Tom, welcome to the football club. I'm sure it's going to be a great experience for you and for us. Tell us how the move has come about.
So yeah, I had a previous relationship with Phil in regards to I was the Trafford manager 4 or 5 years ago. So when Phil was appointed Altrincham manager, I was appointed Trafford manager. That's when we first met. Obviously, the two football clubs always had a connection anyway. So we met then. We had a lot of Altrincham players that came to work under me at Trafford at that period. So that's where the relationship started. Kept in touch with Phil over the last 4 or 5 years that I've been out of the game, and sort of we're here today. Grateful for the opportunity. Really looking forward to working under Phil and working with Neil and being part of such a good football club. So yeah, that's sort of where it's come from.
We've got a very specific DNA at Altrincham Football Club, which is driven by Phil Parkinson and Neil Sorville. What's the DNA of Tom Baker football-wise?
Probably very similar. I think that's why we built the relationship up that we did. I think that's why, obviously, when I was the Trafford manager, Phil trusted sending quite a lot of Altrincham players our way. Young boys that Phil were maybe looking to see whether they could cut it. Players that were coming back from injury, possibly players that were out of favour at the time. I think that's where the connection came from. I think probably the way I look at the game is similar to Phil in terms of beliefs of sort of how my team would used to play and how Phil sees his team and the sort of players that he likes. I think that's why this opportunity for me will hopefully work and it'll be good for both parties. Obviously, I trust Phil. He trusts me. Everything will be led from him in regards to the players that obviously he wants me to go and look at and that he's potentially looking to bring to the club. But yeah, I'd like to think we see things very similar.
And I can remember going to see Trafford, Curtis Miller, who was at Altrincham, scoring a fantastic goal whilst he was on loan to Trafford, and Lewis Salmon, I think, was playing in that game as well. Yeah. Who were the other players who were at Trafford?
Yeah, so we had Darius Palmer was with us for quite a long spell. I think he was only a young kid at the time. Darius Palmer, Curtis Miller, Lewis Salmon, Dante Gabidon. A few more experienced players, Louis Walters, Ben Harrison. So we had a fair few. We probably had, within my period there, maybe 7 or 8 players that we worked with. Some came back to Alti and ended up playing, obviously, in the first team under Phil. And obviously some went on to pastures new. But yeah, it was really good for me at the time. And Lawrence Taylor, sorry, another one. It was really good for me, and the boys done well for me, and it was. I think that's why we're probably here where we are today.
So you were at Trafford for quite some time, but before you went into coaching and management, you had a really good long career. Tell us about your career.
Yeah, so obviously as a kid, I grew up in the academy systems. Up to leaving school, and then I was lucky enough to have 4 or 5 seasons as a full-time player in the professional game. Then I had a little short spell out of the game at sort of early 20s, 2021. Came back into the game in a part-time capacity as a non-league player, and then sort of had to start again. Built my way up. Started off at Ashton United, went to Bradford Park Avenue. Went to Halifax then when I spent 4 to 5 seasons, and then I finished at Chorley. Had a really bad knee injury at 28 at Chorley in a game at Nantwich, actually Phil's old team, and then officially retired at 30. And I think I retired in the March, and I was appointed Trafford manager in the May. So no rest time really. Sort of jumped from being a player straight into coaching and management. So it was definitely a learning period, that was. So yeah, I've been in the game all my life, apart from the last 4 or 5 seasons. I've had 25 years of being involved in football at various levels, from playing to coaching to managing, and really, really looking forward to the opportunity that obviously Phil and the club have given me. So yeah, really excited.
And did you come up against Alti in your playing career?
I did, yeah. So yeah, I came up against Alti a couple of times. I actually played a game for Alti as well, which you probably don't know, which was when I was first coming out of the professional game, was probably 2021. I played in a friendly here under Graham Heathcote. I'd just come back from a really bad foot injury. I broke my metatarsal, which I had to have an operation on. Played a pre-season game here, or a friendly game under Heathcote. Scored a goal actually, and then I rolled the foot again and ended up back in hospital. So yeah, I didn't end up signing. I went to Aldershot and Exeter after that. And then funnily enough, I ended up signing for Scarborough. And my first game for Scarborough was against Alti at Scarborough. So yeah, played against them for Halifax. So paths have crossed, obviously, over the years in terms of playing. And then, like I say, being Trafford manager, the two clubs always had a real strong connection. Always played pre-season, and obviously that's where sort of me and Phil built our relationship from.
And when you were at Halifax, were they semi-pro or full-time at that time?
Yeah, there was part-time then, so semi-pro, yeah.
It was National League North, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so your role at Altrincham Football Club, what is that going to entail exactly?
So it's going to be chief scout, head scout, primarily, watching games, helping Phil on the recruitment side. Obviously, everything will be led from Phil and Neil. So identifying players that maybe are already on the radar, identifying players that are not on the radar, watching games from League 2, national level, national north, and maybe below as well. And yeah, just working closely with Phil and the club in terms of identifying players, basically.
And what's your level of knowledge of football at this level?
Good. Like I say, obviously I've been out of it for a few years now, so I'd be lying if I said I've been watching games every week, because I haven't. But I've definitely had one eye on the game. I think when you've been involved in football for as long as I have, you're never too far away from it. You're always looking at results. You're always looking online at what's going on and looking at where the game's developing, because it's changing all the time. So yeah, but that's something that obviously we're going to have to build. I'm going to be looking at quite a few games at this level. I'll also watch quite a few Alti games as well, just to get an idea on how the team works and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's really exciting.
And in these days of stats and analysis, how has that affected the role of the chief scout?
I mean, there's so much data now, isn't there? You can get as much data as you want at a click of a button. I think what's not changed is, sort of looking at a game and looking at a player through obviously your eyes. Hopefully that's what I'm going to bring to the table. You can get all the data in the world, but actually going, sitting and watching a game and watching a player, you just can't beat. So the game has developed and the game has changed, but going and actually watching a game, you can't be beaten.
And how much are you looking forward to the job?
Really excited, yeah. Like I say, Phil was appointed when I was appointed Trafford manager. I think the job that's been done here has been fantastic. I feel Ollie was probably at a bit of an all-time low at that point. They were back in what would have been the Evo stick at the time. So to be back at National League now and the transition from part-time football to full-time football, so if I can come in now and just play a really small part, albeit hopefully an important part in helping Phil and the team build and progress, then I'm really looking forward to that. Obviously, it's a new role to me, but football is football, and hopefully, my experience as a player, my experience as a manager, the strong connection that I already have with Phil in terms of we have worked together in some capacity. I'm really looking forward to it.
And in terms of modern football, today's football, are we seeing evolution or revolution in terms of what's happened over the last 10 or 15 years?
I'm not sure. I think the basics of the game are still the same. The game has definitely evolved, and the game that you watch now is a different game to what I played in. And I'm only 40-year-old. It's not like it wasn't that long ago when I was a player, but it has changed. I think people have changed, but again, I think the principles are still the same. The game's far more athletic now. I think the speed of the game is much quicker. The technical ability of players is greater. I think because of probably the academy systems now that are in place for the kids coming through, and I think you see that probably at every level. I'm looking forward to getting stuck in and just excited to get to work, really.
And finally, Tom, what about the Doctor Who jokes?
Yeah.
I guess you get a few of those.
I do, yeah. As I just said, I'm the third Tom Baker. So my dad's Tom Baker, my granddad is Tom Baker. So they've had much, more jokes than I have. But I do get the odd one from the older generation, should we say, when they find out my name's Tom Baker. I've never ever watched Tom Baker, so I know nothing about it. I just know that there was a Doctor Who was called Tom Baker. So
yeah, you're a little bit young to have known the fourth Doctor Who. We think it might have been, but anyway, all the very best with your time at Altrincham Football Club.
Thank you.
It's an exciting time to be joining the club. The National League is a fantastic league, and I'm sure you're going to add value to us.
Super, yeah. Thank you. I'm really looking forward to it.